to co-create a breakthrough for freedom of energy, sustenance, healing, and regeneration of the human vessel. Welcome to FESIG, the Free Energy Special Interest Group, where science meets spirituality in the quest for truth and knowledge to free humanity and transform this planet into a paradise. Hi everyone, welcome back to Physics 86 meeting. This is the second session. We just finished a superb, fantastic first session by Dan Winter, and now we are going on to the second session. So if you just bear with me, I'm gonna share screen to read the agenda for you. So here we are. Welcome to the 86th meeting, where we had the first session just completed with Dan Winter's presentation. And then now we're going to have the second session about to start with Boris. I'm sorry, my internet connection is not very good, but here we are. The second session, we have Boris Dragin. Now, the first session, Dan Winter was speaking about the fractal physics of global wireless power, vacuum energy, and the diamond light body. And the second session here, we have Boris Dragin. He's a lecturer of traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, experienced practitioner of complementary and alternative medicine. He explores how the science of CieAura's energies interact with his acupuncture practice. So that's a very good one that he will add later after his presentation. And once we have finished the second session, then this meeting will adjourn to the 87th FESIG meeting on the 7th of April, where we have a Russian scientist, Dr. Marina, who will be speaking on the rejuvenation technology, another very fascinating subject. And she, like Dan, in a way, she is very knowledgeable and she covers a wide range of subjects. And she and then once she has already confirmed, so do come back on the 7th of April, same code, same time. The second speaker is yet to be announced. Right, so I'm going to now stop sharing screen. Yeah, I'm going to introduce Boris Dragin to you. Boris is actually one of our member in the R&D team with Pontus. He was brought in by Pontus, and he's speaking today on the subject that I've just mentioned just now. Boris is an experienced practitioner and lecturer of complementary and alternative medicine, specializing in traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture. So it's like 40 years of research in the subject and studying in Chinese medicine. And over time, Boris had broadened his competence by deepening himself also in modern Western medicine, often called functional medicine. And there too, such a popular holistic approach is applied when analyzing what causes health problems in an individual. And being able to look at the patient first from the Chinese medicine angle, Boris then is able to look at the functional medicine angle in very clearly and very advantageously. So resulting clinically into a synthesis, a form of integrative medicine in which one can use a large arsenal of diagnostics and therapeutics in addition to treatments. So over to you, Boris.
Yes.
If you start your presentation.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, yes, it is an amazing topic. I mean, it is so wide, it's so deep. You mentioned 40 years. It may sound like much, but feels like I have only started, because I have collected so much knowledge that I'm now able to see how deep it is and how wide this topic is. So I should have retired, but you know, there's no time to retire because there's so much more to do and so much more to study. All right. Well, yes, I have been running my clinic since the end of 70s. And I have, well, to start with, I started learning with the Chinese people, Chinese doctors. And later, as soon as I was able, as soon as I could grab an opportunity, I went to China. And I'm a linguist as well. I speak a number of languages, and I am an interpreter, which enabled me to realize how difficult it is to translate these theories of the traditional Chinese medicine into Western medicine. You can easily interpret you know, words like apple or number 15 or, you know, sleep, etc. But then when it comes to the theories that are basis of the traditional Chinese medicine, you know, everybody has heard of yin, yang, and some similar names. Then it gets very complicated. And since I am a professional interpreter, I have been able to witness very many situations where there were very funny and sometimes unfortunate misunderstandings, because just to illustrate my point, a situation where there is a Western medical doctor very interested in what Chinese are doing. You know, they had heard something about open chest surgery without anesthesia, without you know, Western chemicals. That's things that we are using, substances that will put the person to sleep so that surgeons can operate. And then there is a Chinese expert, an expert of traditional Chinese medicine, and there is an interpreter. Now, none of these two understand who the interpreter is and how well the interpreter is interpreting. But the Western medical doctor will ask his questions, and the interpreter will do his best to translate into Chinese. That there are not very many losses there, but when the Chinese master starts explaining, oh boy, then things start to happen, because the interpreter, who although he or she speaks English, will have enormous difficulties to find terminology in English. So that when the interpreter tells what the Chinese professor has explained, you know, there's like 40–50% losses. Plus, there may be lots of misunderstandings. And this happens regularly. Now, when I was in China, especially when I was there the first time, I could understand Chinese because I had started to learn Chinese. So understanding is, of course, important. It's not as important that I express myself in Chinese, because if my Chinese counterpart understands some English, there was no problem. So when I studied these theories, I could hear them in Chinese first, because these professors most often did not master English. So they were teaching in Chinese. And then, owing to the fact that the interpreters were trained to interpret, to interpret this topic. These people had studied Chinese medicine in order to understand it. And then they learned the methodology of how to translate these theories. So I had no problem. I could hear these theories in Chinese first, and they were then interpreted into excellent English. I mean, as good as the situation allowed, because like I said, you can never interpret every one of the words. So there were no problems. But if there were situations which happened thousands of times, I have seen many articles where Western experts, medicinal experts and doctors, surgeons, etc., they were in China, and they heard an interpreter say something, and they wrote their articles based on what the interpreter said. They had no idea that what the Chinese professor said was something completely different. So just to give you an idea how important it is to study a theory in its own language. So, well, I traveled to China to learn. I thought it would be, now I'm going to learn how to insert needles and how to treat diseases. I had no idea how deep it was and how complex the whole thing was. Later, but by the time as I started working and as I was taught by Chinese masters along the way, I understood more and more. So what I am trying to focus on now is these theories, and I can focus on the theory of the channels and collaterals, as they are called. How these channels and collaterals that Chinese have in their language, in their culture, it is something, it is just there. At the same time, if you talk to a Western medical doctor, well, they have heard somebody talk about channels and collaterals, but that's nothing. It doesn't exist. You cannot put a piece of it in your hand and say, here is a piece of channel, or here is some energy from the channels. So that has caused a lot of difficulties. I mean, it has been difficult to communicate, and of course, it was difficult to practically apply what the Chinese medicine is teaching. Western medicine is very much based on material thinking. I mean, let's use this kind of drug or that kind of drug in order to treat this kind of symptom or whatever symptom. And the Western medicine is not very interested in understanding what is causing a disease. I mean, you can have a headache. It's a simple thing. Very many people go around with headaches, and just taking pills to treat a headache without really knowing why does a person have a headache. That makes the treatment inefficient. I mean, it may, if the patient is lucky, there will be less headache after having taken a pill, but the pill does something else to the body. It will influence some functions, normally the liver. So the Western medicine does not, is not aware of these channels, and it is not aware of how you can use, I mean, if you know of the existence of these channels, then you can do something. Specifically, I can give you a very simple example. Let's say that a patient has a very serious inflammation of the tonsils. The patient is even unable to swallow saliva. It is very swollen. It hurts very much. Okay, so you can use Chinese herbs, you can use needles. In this case, needles are better, I mean, at least initially, because somehow you have to influence what is happening here locally. I mean, a Western medicine, medical doctor would call that, oh, you have streptococcus. It is a serious infection, local infection. Chinese medicine has not known of germs, bacteria, or viruses, because they did not have microscopes at that time. These theories of the Chinese medicine are thousands of years old, but the funny thing is they still work. So in this case of tonsillitis, a serious tonsillitis, funny thing is, if this is a foot of a person, I will insert a needle. This will be the right foot. I will insert a needle somewhere down here, and also on the other side, on the corresponding side, on the other foot, actually the angle of the foot. And you just put two short needles and you stimulate the needles, and it takes like 2 minutes or 5 minutes. It doesn't hurt that much. I mean, you feel it. There are needles in my body and they are stimulated. But after just a few minutes, the patient will feel, wow, something is happening here. And they will be able to swallow. So I'm talking minutes. I'm talking about terrible pain, not even allowing the patient to swallow his own saliva. It could be even more difficult to drink a glass of water. And just a few minutes of stimulation, something happens. So Chinese have understood this during thousands of years. Even Tibetan medicine, they are similar. They apply the same or similar, rather, similar theories. So this is this would still be somehow on the material level, but I have met Chinese masters who apply these knowledges in a different way. There is it is far deeper. I mean, the thinking of what am I doing? Why am I doing it is very different from an acupuncture practitioner who is on a lower level. So the higher we come, I mean, the more skilled a practitioner is, the closer we come to these energies, we come to vortexes, we come to influences that are influences and phenomena that are very difficult to explain with ordinary physics and ordinary medicine. So I can mention that um, today we have something called traditional Chinese medicine. This is something that dominates in the world. But there is something called classical Chinese medicine. Now, classical Chinese medicine is actually the pure, uh, the real thing. What is traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM? That is medicine, those are theories that have been politicized during Mao time. Mao did not like the old, this old Chinese culture. Of course, being communists, they did not believe in spirits or ghosts or etc. So what they did, they figuratively expressed, they gathered a number of experts of Chinese medicine, and they simply, these experts were asked, or they were instructed, not to say ordered, give us a summary of these theories, because we want books. You know, during Mao times, especially in the beginning, there were many Western doctors in China. There were very many Westerners, but most of these people, they fled. They left China. So all of a sudden, there was a lack of physicians. So Mao said, but we have our Chinese medicine. So he prepared books. So, I mean, there is traditional Chinese gynecology, traditional Chinese pediatrics, traditional Chinese herbal medicine, and acupuncture, etc., etc. So there were like, about 15 volumes that were used. They started universities, and they taught people during 5 years. They taught people traditional Chinese medicine. But of course, this was this westernized way of teaching, because normally a student of Chinese, call it classical Chinese medicine, would follow a master during, you know, it's like 20, 30, even more years. That is how these people were taught. This was the traditional way. But Mao has made it very simple, and that should be very quick, and he wanted to produce large numbers of traditional Chinese physicians who would then take care of all the people who needed medical attention. Okay, so I started studying TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, but then I realized by the time, as you know, I was meeting these fantastic masters. Uh, I don't even know how many times I was in China. I lost the count, and I I have been married to a Chinese doctor as well. um, so by the time you understand that this system of channels and collaterals, as they are called, those are, well, channels where the energy flow is taking place. They're talking about energy. I mean, I don't have a better term. Chinese term qi. is a very good thing. I mean, it means exactly that. In Japanese culture, in Japanese language, it is called ki. It's the same thing. So, um, meeting these people, uh, one of them was a Dr. Ma from Beijing, a Buddhist uh, uh, master. He was very, very famous. I mean, it was kind of a physician who would be called like 10 o'clock in the evening when somebody in the Chinese, somebody from the government, the Chinese government, or better put, somebody from the Communist Party, an important person would not feel very well, then he would be one of those who would go and visit this person and treat them. Um, just to illustrate how he was working, I will give you an example. Um, it was like in the 80s that he was allowed to open and own hospital. I mean, at that time, it was inconceivable that a Chinese, an ordinary Chinese, would have a business running. Now, Dr. Ma was not a businessman. He was not interested in making lots of money, but he was interested in organizing a hospital, and he had like 300 people staying in his hospital. He was interested in uh, receiving patients and not only cure them, but also teach them what to do in order never to get sick again. Now, these are big words. I am not, of course, you know, accidents, broken bones, etc., and burns and cuts. That is excluded. But um, he would teach people, and I remember him saying very clearly. I mean, I was there one morning when he had all these patients who came from all over the place. I mean, many places from China. He gathered them, and they were supposed to learn a number of movements. Those were Chinese exercises, and these Chinese exercises are specific. They have a specific effect on the body. So he would tell these people that, okay, you have come here to see me and you want me to cure you. And he said, yes, I can do that under one condition. When I have treated you, when I have cured you, I want you to go back home and continue doing these exercises regularly. You have to change your life. You have become sick because of the life you were living. No matter if it were high level of stress, or if it was overeating, or if it was overworking, whatever, doesn't matter. So he would treat these people and teach them. When he was working clinically, I remember one of the patients, there was a CT of the liver of the patient. CT, you know, computer tomography. It's like a radiological examination. You know, the liver is about that big, and he had a tumor in the liver about this big. And he was sitting there on the patient's bed, and he told him, we will not even have to use acupuncture. You will get some herbal medicines. And he started treating the patient. And how was he treating the patient? The treatment was supposing this is the patient's trunk, he was holding his hand like that, about 10, 15 centimeters from the body. And he was directing his own energy. He was emitting his own energy to the liver. I mean, I don't know the exact process. He started teaching me. So we were sitting there, and he was like making small movements, like it looked like as if he were pumping something into the patient. And the patient experienced some strange feeling of, warmth, and something is happening in my liver. Now, this patient was not at all knowledgeable when it comes to traditional Chinese culture, like, exercises, using qi, or those things were strange to him. I mean, he was Chinese, but he knew nothing about that. But here he was very surprised, like, wow, I feel this and I feel that. I feel tingling and I feel some kind of radiation, etc., etc. So this is one part of traditional Chinese medicine, or actually rather classical Chinese medicine, because Professor Ma was applying classical Chinese medicine. So he would go into the system of these channels and collaterals, and he would influence what causes disease in a person. According to the way Chinese see it, it is not, aha, something is wrong with your liver, or something is wrong with your gallbladder, or your lungs are no good, etc., etc. No. These organs do what they can do under the conditions that are present at the moment. Now, when something happens, when a patient complains of suppose it's some kind of a tension in the area of the liver, there are certain channels, and there are certain classical Chinese medicine has very clear definitions of what different, well, I'll have to call it organs, because I don't have an English word for that. It's not exactly organs. They know what these organs do. So when somebody experiences some discomfort, pain, distension, or whatever in the liver area, they will not focus on the liver. They will not focus on that part of the body. They will focus they will try to dig deeper in order to understand what is happening in this body. So they will analyze and determine what is wrong. I'm talking about wrong on a deeper level, and they will treat that, because what the patient is feeling is only a manifestation of some kind of an imbalance, some kind of disturbed energy flow somewhere in some of the channels. So this is I'm trying to illustrate how a Chinese physician thinks. Now this is I have been focusing on diseases so far, but it is not only diseases. Working with diseases or diseased people should only be a very, very small portion of all the activities. What a Chinese physician is supposed to do is apply these theories on their own health. And it's not only to keep healthy, it is also aimed to help the person develop, get a body that is in good condition, good health, and everything is supposed to function. Later, like when people are 60, 70, 80, then we are talking about longevity. You apply these theories so that you can help you can help these uh, keep the energy flowing. That would be a very simple way to put it, because as long as the energy is flowing, things work fine. When there is a disturbance in the energy flow for some reason, there will be difficulties. I mean, headache, toothache, pain in the stomach, swollen legs, or constipation, loose stools, anything. Uh, and the way the Chinese explain how a healthy person can become sick, there are basically two ways. One way would be influences from outside. I mean, if I'm completely healthy and somebody puts me into icy water, you know, I can tolerate half minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Uh, there is a person from Holland whose name is Wim Hof, and he can stay for 1 hour in icy water. But if you stay in such water longer than your system uh, is able to cope with, then something will happen. And if they don't pull you out from icy water, you may even die. Okay, so there are external influences, and there are internal factors. So Western people and even very many practitioners of very many Western practitioners of Chinese medicine would say that there is lack of energy in this patient and there is too much energy in that patient. Now, this is wrong. There is never too much energy in a patient. There is presence of external pathogenic factors. This is how they are called. So you take that into consideration. I mean, Chinese have been studying how a human body reacts to whatever various kinds of influences from outside. You know, in Sweden, there's a lot of cold. In Africa, there's a lot of heat. In some places, there is dryness will dominate. In jungles, humidity will dominate, etc., etc. So there are basically 6 external pathogenic factors. And then there are internal pathogenic factors. And those, the most important of these are actually emotions of a person. So a healthy person can become a completely healthy person in perfect balance, can be thrown out of the balance only by being exposed to certain emotional factors, like well, an example, perfectly healthy, 25 years old, working and working out and everything is fine. his girlfriend leaves him all of a sudden. And since he has been very much in love with her and does not understand what is happening, why would she ever do that? A process will start in his mind that will gradually sink his health. And it can be loss of appetite and depression and in some cases suicide, etc., etc., etc. So I hope I'm able to illustrate to some extent how Chinese are thinking. But again, this is on the level of health. It's really a shame that Ludmila is not here, because she would be able to present something from Russia, but that call it knowledge, science, that information is touching these Chinese theories. So,
Boris, would you like to explain to the audience why Ludmila couldn't make it? Because I had announced her
yes,
speaking to.
yes, okay. Very unfortunate, but okay. I have written the name of this Professor Garyaev. Have you seen my? It is in the chat list. Did you receive that?
Don't worry about that, Boris. We will talk about that privately later.
Okay, I mean, since it's a Russian name, it was he was a researcher who was working with frequencies in a very special way, and unfortunately, I mean, this was a great surprise. He was murdered in November, just this past November. I mean, somebody didn't like what he was doing. He was nominated for a Nobel Prize. Anyway, this lady, Ludmila, she has been working with the Garyaev Institute, and she knew him well. She even brought his devices. I mean, he manufactured devices which anybody can use at home in order to treat various kinds of ailments. No acupuncture needles, no herbal medicines, just frequencies. So she went to Russia, and she does it a couple of times a year. And well, I was hoping that she would make it back, but she got stuck there.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Boris. Yes, of course,
Yeah.
it's relevant to Ludmila. Yeah, I got you wrong. Okay, I'm going to share screen to help you with that, because you gave me the information so the audience will know what you're talking about.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I'll share screen while you continue talking. Yeah.
Yes.
Oops.
So from my point of view, I have, in a way, I have a bird's eye view on this, the energy system. Oh, that is Professor Garyaev.
Yeah. Yeah. So the website is wavegenetics.org, right?
Yes, exactly.
So the audience can explore that themselves. Yeah, actually,
Yes.
the lady, this Russian therapist, Ludmila, is supposed to be talking with Boris today on how she can apply Professor Peter Gaia's technology into the other complementary therapies, like even acupuncture. Yeah, is that what you're saying?
Well, they touch each other. I mean, in China, it would be called acupuncture, but you know, the deeper you come into such topic, the closer the two sciences will come. It's just like physics. I mean, Western physics, I'm talking about physics on higher level, was getting closer and closer to the Eastern way of thinking. It is a known phenomenon. You know, the dancing Wu masters. There is a book with that topic. Anyway, so it's like we would supplement each other in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But Ludmila has been working with this far longer. I mean, I can give you examples. Asthma. Somebody who has had asthma for like, 10, 20 years, Ludmila will treat a person like that, well, twice, maybe even once. And there's no more asthma. I mean, do you understand what kind of danger this kind of technology, this kind of treatment would pose to the pharma industry? I mean, pharma industry lives of people who are forced to take their so-called medication. I would not even call it medication. I would call it, preparations, chemicals. Anyway, so Ludmila has interesting pictures of people she has been treating. Among other, just to mention something, there's a little girl who is maybe like 10 years old now. She was born with a very strange condition. I don't even remember the diagnosis, and I don't trust very much the Western medical diagnosis. It's just a brief description. But this little girl was like a package. She was just lying there, unable to eat, unable to move, unable to do anything by herself. And on the last picture I saw, this little girl was sitting on a tricycle. I mean, she's not able to run a bicycle, but she can run a three-wheel thing, a tricycle. I mean, all by her own. So I mean, this is mind-boggling. I mean, how much can be achieved, how much can be done with these very simple methods. I mean, they are simple once you understand them. The theories may be complex, but that's another thing. All you have to do is learn and apply them. And once you do, it works. Yeah. So I'm from former Yugoslavia, the country of Nikola Tesla. So I grew up with thoughts and interest and intrigues about the work of Tesla. So I have this analytical and curious mind from the beginning. So you may have heard that Tesla has been applying his technology to treat diseases. But then again, we are talking frequencies, although these are high voltage and electrical phenomena, but those were frequencies. And I have seen effects of those frequencies because there is some knowledge. There are some experts in well, the area of former Yugoslavia, people who had found books, information, and who had researched and actually, I can give you an example. 15 megahertz roughly is being used to um, cure, actually, hip inflammations in people, 40, 50 years old, 60 years old, it doesn't matter. And I have seen there was a device produced in Germany. It was like 1 meter high and like 70 centimeters wide. There was a lot of electronics and a lot of coils in it. And the energy from this device was so intense, although right frequency, it would not hurt anybody. It was so intense that if you held an ordinary light bulb like 30 centimeters from the emitter, and the two poles of the light bulb, I'm talking about 220 volts light bulb, the two poles would be connected with a copper ring. So it's just a circle, actually. One circle made of copper. And they would attach the two ends to the poles of the light bulb. And this one end, when you make transformers, you count the number of windings. This one winding would be able to catch up so much energy that this light bulb would be burning with like, I'm talking about 60-watt light bulb. It would be burning with a capacity of like 40 to 60, 70%. So again, there is a common denominator here: frequency and the system we have in our bodies. I mean, it is very dependent on what it is being exposed to. I mean, now that we will be having this 5G technology everywhere, if we don't protect ourselves, there may be some major risks with that technology. That is, I would call it misuse of those frequencies, which negatively influence the body. But we, in this group, we normally focus on the constructive thinking. I mean, how can we apply whatever technology in order to make life better, make life easier? If somebody has an ailment, how can we help the person to get rid of this whatever condition? So from my bird's eye view, I see common points. Chinese medicine, or rather this system of channels and collaterals, as they are called. This I I don't like calling that energy, because it, like I said, it's not energy that is flowing, because there is nothing material you can see, but it is I would rather call it a function. So what Chinese have discovered, I see very much similarity with what Professor Garyaev has been working with, and all these healers who are doing things, who are mentally, willingly emitting something from their own body. They may not be aware of all the others that are doing something that will give similar phenomena, but there is a way. I mean, people can be taught how to use their own energy in order to influence living beings.
Mhm.
I have met another kind of a Chinese Qi Gong masters. They are called Qi Gong masters. I mean, those who really have mastered this. Now, this Qi Gong master, um, well, she was able to help sick people, but she also demonstrated how she could suck the life out of a plant. I mean, uh, there was a plant. Just a little plant, something like that. She would focus on it, and then she would. It is. I'm talking about a mental, some kind of a mental activity, focused mental activity. She would simply. I'm talking about distance of like 3-4 meters. She would. Um, she's able to suck the life out of this poor plant. So I mean, we are talking minutes. From the beginning, the leaves are, like that. And by the time, I mean, after a number of minutes, the leaves go like that.
Yeah, I can attest to that because I have been a student of Qigong, and
Oh,
there was a Qigong master from China who came to
yes.
teach. And my goodness, one day I went to class without having a proper meal because I was too busy. I was juggling like three businesses all in one go. And then I went to the class very weak, without food in the stomach. I actually almost I fainted. I fainted in the class, and the Qigong master say, "You sit down here on the chair." So they all, my classmates, put me on the chair, and he uses Qi energy. He just puts his hand on me, on my navel, the solar plexus area, and I could
Mm,
feel the heat. This is attesting to what you were saying earlier. I could feel the heat, that's energy going into my body, and I was revived
mm,
from having fainted to being able to come up again full of energy again and be able to participate in the class.
mm.
It's really amazing. It's better than food.
Yes, because they charge you,
Yeah,
because this energy
it's
we
like
get
charging
from
the
the food.
battery. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
And
Yes.
the Qigong master said, okay, those of you who are watching, please go away. Don't come near us to watch, because when we practice the Qigong, we'll be sucking the energy out of you like vampires.
Yes. Yes.
So we won't have an audience because we'll be sucking energies from them.
Yes. So I would like to point out, I mean, we should bear in mind that what happens up here, I mean, our focused, our will, our intention is of utmost importance. Now, we are able to do very many, very strange things, but not many people are aware, and not many people practice that.
Yeah.
But all you have to do is like I mean, this may sound crazy. A person who has trained, who has learned qigong technique, when they are hungry, uh, they don't necessarily have to eat something. I mean, that would be normal. But what they can do is they simply focus, close their eyes, and uh, enter some kind of a state. It would be it would correspond to something called alpha state. They are awake, but they are not fully active. The cortex of the brain is has decreased activity, and they will simply uh, absorb energy from the surrounding, and then they are, normal again, more or less. So energy is, I mean, this is not sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. I have, I remember a Chinese master, a Qigong master, who would do things. I mean, those were really strange things. That was more of an exhibition. That was not, I would not call it scientific, but these people learn things and they can perform and they can do things that normal physics cannot explain it. But
Yeah,
the funny,
they can even revive the dead. Yeah,
yes,
the Qigong master was telling me. Yeah.
yes, exactly. But you know, when you say dead, it is dead by the Western medical definition,
Yeah.
because a person does not die like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, normally, dying process is lengthy, except for a well, I don't know what I can name a drastic example. A suicide bomber. Those people die immediately. But normally, and Chinese doctors have demonstrated that. Say, take a person who has drowned. I mean, Western medical definition. Aha, this person has been in water like 30 minutes. He or she is dead. No signs of life. But actually, the person does not need to be dead. So the funny question is, can something be done in order to attempt to revive the person? Yes, something can be done. If there is a Qigong master nearby, call the Qigong master, and the
Yeah.
Qigong master will pump energy into this person, and the person will wake up.
But there's
Even
a
after half an hour.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a time for it, right? I mean, you have to be just dead, only just recently dead, and
Yes.
not after like half an hour or 15 minutes.
Roughly, yes, there, somewhere there. I mean, it has happened other places, even 1 hour in water, and doctors are reluctant to even make an attempt because there will be brain damages, no oxygen for a prolonged time. The person, if we wake up that poor person, it will be a package for the rest of the life. And still, in some cases, these people wake up and they are fine.
Yep.
You see no signs.
Mm-hmm. Boris,
Y-
we've made you talk for so long by yourself. I know you present better with a bit of interaction. Thank you. Yeah, Boris, thank you so much. I really appreciate you filling in for Ludmila, half of the presentation, and you did very well. I think I need to pass the microphone over to our co-chair Pontus to start the Q&A session because
yeah.
we made Boris talk for a long while already. Pontus? Pontus, you're muted.
Yes, I am. Well, do we have any questions?
I suppose James can help you out as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. James, you wanna have any questions yourself about reviving the dead, the just freshly dead in the SSP, for instance?
So-called dead.
Almost dead, just dead.
Almost.
Yeah.
No, I just find that all really fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So,
James, show yourself.
oh, is that better?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
better.
Yeah. So, great. Yeah. What about stories about, I've heard this, I forgot what it's called, but there are rumors that there are certain caves in India where some people can go into these caves and meditate. It's a dark cave. There's no food, no water, 30 days. And they come out of leave this cave after 30 days and they've rejuvenated themselves that they're young again. Do you have any information on this process?
Yes, because has everybody here heard of a pyramid in former Yugoslavia in Bosnia?
Yes.
There is a huge pyramid.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, now, I don't have very much information about the cave in India, because I would, being interested and having knowledge of ionization of the air and the role the air ions play when it comes to treating diseases and being well, developing, etc. I see, I recognize the phenomenon, and I'm mentioning this pyramid in Bosnia because under the pyramid there are what do you call them?
Water flowing.
Yes, that too, exactly. And that water is amazing. I mean, it has amazing properties. Now, I don't know if they have run any proper chemical analysis, but the density of ions in those Jesus, I don't have the English word, Pontus, gångar under pyramiden.
Tunnels.
Tunnels is a good name. Good, thank you. All right. In these tunnels, the concentration of ions is very, very high. Now, I have been working, I have been involved with ionization of air, etc. So there are ways to measure the density of ions. And I'm not only referring to negative, I'm referring to negative and positive ions, because both may be present. They both play an important role. There should be a balance between them. Not exactly balance. It's like a little bit more negative and a little bit less positive. But anyway, so people who go through these caves actually feel, you know, wow, something is happening to me. This is a good feeling. So I know another interesting thing that is, I find similarity there. It would be Chinese masters who have been, I mean, at some point they will find a society too difficult to live in. And these people will move to a mountain somewhere, to a cave, and they will live there. And the funny thing is that the food there is very scarce. I mean, well, they sit and practice, do their practices and meditate, etc. They don't really have time to produce very many carrots and cabbages and so on. But, you know, with very little food, they survive because they are able to get energy from some other place. A very strange example, and that was grandfather of one of my early teachers, a Chinese physician about my age. I'm 68 now. This person, a family member, I mean, he left the family because he needed to continue his process of development. He was only, I mean, I had difficulties believing it, but this is the information she gave me. He only wanted liquor. They call it wine in Chinese. That was his only source of energy. For I don't remember what period. I mean, we're talking year 1978, 79. That is when I was told. So I'm not surprised that this cave in India will provide conditions so that a person who is practicing will be able to survive on minimum of food. I mean, there is energy in the air. So unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to ask Dan whether he knows anything about the phenomenon of lightning hitting a person or hitting right beside a person. I'm not talking about people who get killed immediately, burned to death. That is another thing. But it has happened, I mean, a number of times that when a lightning hits nearby, something happens in the mind of the person. I mean, all of a sudden they become aware, they get deeper awareness, and it improves their some maybe psychic phenomena or whatever, something happens. But then we are back, we are talking ions again, because when a lightning hits, you know, you can have like hundreds of thousands of ions, but that is a measure, a unit per cubic centimeter. This is an international unit. Right. So this is where I would search. I mean, this is the kind of information I would search in order to get more clarity. But it would be very simple. I mean, if I were to go to Bosnia, I have not been there yet. I was not able to do that. Or India, I would have instruments with me, battery-driven instruments, and I know exactly what I would be measuring. Mm. That would most probably give at least a partial explanation of how these people manage to survive and rejuvenate.
Right. Hey,
yes.
Thank you for doing a presentation on Peter Gayayev. Sorry, I forgot that it's relevant to Ludmila, because Ludmila is like his protege, right? She's learned from him.
Yes, she's a representative.
Yeah, I forgot that it's relevant and linked. Yeah. So it's such a shame that, you know, a person so brilliant has been murdered for his science and spirituality, or whatever you may call it. Yeah, he being the nominee for the Nobel Prize in Medicine, which is this year, right? He would be taking the prize. So that means he just died recently.
Yes, I mean, Ludmila is a very straightforward person. I mean, wow, that's a tough lady. I mean, and she's not afraid of anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are planning this course at the end of March. She is going to teach people what to do in order to decrease the risk of getting sick.
So is this course online that anybody can take?
No, physical presence will be required. 5 days. And the last day, if everybody is okay with it, I mean, this is a strange thing, but she is going to bring some big bottles, big champagne bottles, and crush them into very small not very, but small pieces. And the whole group is supposed to, we will be walking on glass without having our feet cut.
Oh, wow.
Yes, this is normally a very strong experience. It would be like, you know, there's this other method where people walk on glowing charcoal.
Yeah, so it's like a mind over body.
Mind over body, exactly.
Yeah, technique. Exactly. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Right. So if somebody would say that Boris committed suicide, don't trust them.
It's like self-hypnotism, Boris.
What?
It's like self-hypnotism, because that's what Anthony Robbins did. He's taught people how to reprogram their mind into thinking that their feet is not burning.
Yes.
When they're walking on burning charcoal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a sort of a hypnosis.
Yes. Okay.
So,
other question?
Dr. Peter Garyarev, he was into, just to make it clearer with the audience, it's he developed a quantum programming emerging technologies, programming stem cells through natural programs used by the human body, the use of the concept of fractal dimensions relating to the levels of consciousness and thinking in biological systems, right? And so Ludmila has been his protege, and she's learning a lot from him. Unfortunately, he passed away, but I suppose she's got enough of the transfer of technology from him. And you and Ludmila will be conducting a course at the end of March, did you say, Boris?
I am only participating because I don't have that knowledge. I mean, I have knowledge of it. Well, Ludmila wants me to find people. Those people will be handpicked. I mean, you cannot offer this kind of a topic to anybody. So since I know my patients, I know whom I could ask. And well, every one of those that I have asked have expressed very great interest in participating.
Sure. So would we be able to join online on the like a workshop, a live seminar, and how much would it cost? How long would it be?
I am not sure that we will be able to have it online, but well, technically I can assist her if she would choose, but I will have to ask her.
Yeah, we can help you organize an online class via FESIG if you want to. Yeah, do ask her. I'm sure our followers and our subscribers will be interested.
Oh yes.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can organize that for you if you want.
Yes.
So I mean, you are very, very spot on with the similarity between the Chinese TCM system of healing in the natural way with Dr. Peter Garyev's technology. Yeah. So in emotion and body code, sorry, somebody is asking a question. Connie Ostrom. Pontus, can I read this question?
Yeah, please do.
Connie Ostrom's asking, in emotion and body code, you have a communication with the client's subconscious, and this way find the underlying reasons to a symptom or sickness. Yeah. Oh, it's just a statement. It's not a question. Sorry. Yeah, it's just confirming what you say. So, and then Ron, not a question as well. Hang on, let me just see. Yeah. Okay. Ron, not a question too. Catherine says she loves learning about energetic healing. And Ron said the 5 pyramid complex in Bosnia are the largest in the world except for one in the ocean. So anyway, any questions? These are all statements. We want questions. This is a Q&A. Speak up, please. Unmute yourself. Pontus, I'm sure you have some questions yourself as the co-chair. What about you, Fres?
Fres, maybe?
Yeah, basically, first a statement, and for those that are listening out there, we realize that we can make ourselves sick. What we don't realize is we can make ourselves well the same way. And it's
all in the mind.
It's a conscious choice. Now, some of it has to do with our environment and what we're taking in the stresses, and both physical and mental. But what's interesting, even though that's a very simple statement, after 5 years of meditation and working on reversing the thought patterns, it is not as easy as it seems. And that's where the therapists, the ones that come in and help you with it, get you started, because the first part of it, to realize that you're making yourself sick with your thoughts, maybe, to not dwell on that, or to put it into I'm not going to think about such and such, isn't exactly the way that it takes to get over that process. So I really appreciate what you brought forward today. That's the statement. On the other side, I had a question. How much, I'm going to call it negative influence, has the United States and the British Empire had on China, and especially with Mao? Because we know that Mao was trained in China through the Yale Institute, which is both American and British background. I'm very happy to hear that there is masters still there to be able to go forward and teach the healing. It doesn't sound like there was a good reaction from westernizing in China.
I was in China. My trip started in late 70s. Mm-hmm. And the first training course I had, it was organized through WHO in cooperation with the health authorities of China. And these courses were actually aimed for physicians from third world countries. So those who simply didn't have means to pay. So it was free for these people. Since Chinese medicine was accepted like a method which is very simple. You know, an acupuncturist can go around with a small bag, well, call it full of needles and maybe a few other instruments, and that's all. You don't need X-ray. You don't need a laboratory. You just need the patient should tell you where they have pain or whatever condition, and you know, it's very easy to treat it. Now, these classes were not always filled. Like we had doctors from Pakistan, from India, Africa, South America, etc. And then there were a number. There were like 6 people from the United States, but these participants, including me, we paid a fee. So China started earning money preparing these courses. So I have been following. I mean, since I'm Chinese speaking, I was able to understand. I had many good friends. People were telling me things, and I could see that I remember the wave of Chinese people who ran to get these fantastic Western, modern, scientific, these are the adverbs they were using, medicines. You know, our Chinese medicine, you know, this is old, backwards, you know, no good. So there was a huge wave of Chinese running because at that time Mao had let Western, I call them pharma cartel, not to say pharma mafia. He let them into China, and they could, of course, see this is a huge market. So, you know, let's start selling. So it didn't last long because all these Western medicines had side effects, and Chinese hate side effects. I mean, they are so aware of it. So you had this second wave, the reaction wave coming the other way. No, Western medicine is not good. It will give you side effects. Because I can tell you from history, if a physician, like I'm talking 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, if a physician was applying something, using some kind of a decoction or something that would hurt people, you know, he would lose his head. Ooh. So that was a very effective way of keeping bad medicine away from people.
Yeah.
I mean, can't we do that today somehow? I can suggest it. This is, I mean, it was insane. So,
my goodness.
Pardon?
I mean, my goodness, I was just having the thought of what's happening right now with the jabbing.
You see, you see,
You see?
and nobody gets punished. And I'm not
No,
talking about
nobody gets punished. Yes.
I'm not talking about serious side effects. I'm talking about a doctor, a physician who happened to do something that hurt a number of people. Didn't kill them, not necessarily, but like I said, he would lose his head.
Yeah.
So that's a very effective way of controlling. And you know, Chinese medicine is, I'm talking about herbal medicine. That is probably the world's most advanced medicine. I mean, when we talk about synergy, because they are able to, I mean, they have found out how much of this, how much of that, and how much of something else in order to achieve such and such effect.
Boris, apparently they have come up with the TCM herbal cures for the COVID at one time. I mean, I was reading in papers. Yeah. Instead of jabs, instead of injection vaccines, they were using the TCM to boil in the urn to drink as a herbal medicine to cure the COVID. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. There are a number of those. Only the problem is that these voices are simply being silenced because, you know, there is a narrative that needs to be going on because somebody has other plans for the planet.
Yeah,
this
for money's sake, yeah.
Yes,
anyway, a question, Pontus, to James. James, you there? James?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you something. I wanted to ask you something. In the SSP, right? It's technology from off-planet ET technologies galore. So when it comes to traditional Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, you don't have a place where you can go and harvest some herbs, right, in space, or even in the far reaches of Mars and the moon. The defense forces won't have access to herbal medicine. So, I mean, you're all just resorting to technologies only, right? And no herbal medicine, no natural way of.
They've got food replicators, so theoretically they could replicate it, but it won't have the same taste and texture and look usually. But the med beds come with a standard operating procedure when it comes with the super soldier units and slaves and avatars and all that. It's usually all they just throw
it's
you
all
in.
Chemicals. It's not,
pretty much. Yeah, they just throw you in the tank with the solutions in there that have a lot of biobots, and apparently you can breathe in there. They put a mask on you. You can breathe in the tank.
What do you call it? Bionic fluid. What Ileana was.
Biomimetic gels.
Biomimetic gels. Yeah, that's right. Those are chemically simulated, right? Nothing to do with herbs and the natural way of replicating the natural processes in the body.
Right. Well, I mean, they have the technology to alter the meridians and all. Yeah, the energy body around your body, as well as the different aspects, the different layers of the energy body, the astral, the physical. So they don't really necessarily need all that stuff. But I mean, it's, there's always there's modalities for everything, and we can use what we have. So that's where. Actually, I had a question about an herb. I don't know if Boris could answer or not, but
go ahead.
Okay. Aconite preparations. Aconite is defined by the FDA as a very toxic poison, and it's been banned in the US. No doctor's allowed to administer it. But studies have shown, because they actually process, hold on a second. Okay, so they actually, there you go. Okay.
They're coming to get you.
So the aconite, what they do is they actually, they wash it out and they process it with some certain, I forgot, I don't remember the exact process, but it removes all the toxic compounds, and what's left is a material that this preparation that's actually been shown to increase bone marrow proliferation 122% in mice. And I would suspect that this stuff could probably reverse aging, if I'm not mistaken, but it's been banned by the FDA. So, I mean, there's certain herbs out there that have these capabilities, but scientists are not really studying it, I guess, because it's not patentable. But do you have any information about aconite in particular?
Yes, I have information about aconite, and I would give you a brief comment. I mean, regarding the reaction, regarding the position of the FDA. Aconite, to start with, not only aconite, everything is toxic. You can never just say one name of a substance and ask, is it toxic? I mean, sea salt, is it toxic? Yes, of course it is, in certain quantities. I mean, you have to you have to give a certain quantity of the substance in order to cause toxicity. So exactly the same goes for aconite. So never mind this. I have to say, I see it as an attack. They are attacking. I mean, they don't like aconite because aconite has some very interesting properties, and they hate it. So this is the problem. Okay, and I have to mention that aconite has been very, they don't use much of it because a Chinese physician who is not, who does not have enough knowledge may cause problems. I mean, if they would give a wrong dosage, or if they would prepare it in a way that is not proper, it could cause damage to the patient, even death. All right. So it's not only aconite. They will stop. There are so many other very well-known remedies that they have simply you cannot import them. I mean, Sweden is a classical example. It is so difficult to get a number of Chinese remedies. They are simply stopping everything because we are talking policy. We're not talking medicine. This is not medicine. This is policy and of course, why this policy? Because the FDA and the Swedish correspondence to FDA, etc., and the European Union, they are simply infiltrated by representatives of the pharma cartel. Mm. So this is the reason.
Right.
Yes. Actually, when you mentioned aconite, it wouldn't be a bad idea to collect more information about it, because these old masters who are very well trained, I mean, they really have deep knowledge. I'm talking about people who are 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 years old. Those exist in China. They are actually, it's like a gold mine. I mean, because this knowledge is disappearing. Young Chinese people who start studying medicine today, they are kind of I'm talking about a specific master, 110 years old. He complained to one of his Western students. He said that people come to me, they want me to teach them, and I teach them. And after, you know, like 1-2 years, they run away. They want to start treating and earning money.
Okay.
So this is the situation we have. So I would definitely accumulate as much knowledge as possible about aconite, because we cannot take it for granted that it will be there, you know, for I don't know how long.
Right.
Another herb that I've been looking at, which I found was really fascinating, is Guam japonicum, Lanbuzing. And studies have shown that it can reduce the, it actually increases stem cells in heart tissue. It can reduce the infraction of it after a heart attack about 50% after 2 weeks. So that stuff is amazing, but you can't find it in the U.S. And I don't think anybody knows about it.
Hey James,
So,
would you be able to write down the name of this
Yeah,
herb
the
and the
spelling,
aconite
please.
one
you
on the chat?
familiar?
On
Yeah,
the chat
I
so
will.
everybody
Yeah, are you
can,
familiar with Guam japonicum?
yeah, everybody
No.
can have access to it.
This is okay. It was discovered in Japan, I suppose, since the name indicates. But it is most probably it can be found in China as well. I would be surprised.
Right. Thank
If
you.
Of course, other herbs like stemia. So that's used for enhancing telomeres. And then the shtiba, yeah, that increases the nerve growth factors. It's loaded with B12 vitamins,
Yes.
and even like lotus flowers, the seeds from the lotus flowers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been shown. That they actually call that the longevity herb, and that's been used for over 2,000 years in China. So.
Yeah, write all these names down in the chat. And that's the advantage the attendees who are attending live are having. That's the benefit you got. Because those who are watching from the recorded videos on our channel won't get it. Right. So one question from Iroka Zivia. She was saying, do you know the difference between working with rife single frequencies versus working with ratios and harmonics, Boris?
No, I have been using rife frequencies, but my problem is that I have had so many patients that I am a clinician primarily, and you know, I was supposed to be retired 2 years ago, but I realized that there's so much work to do. There's so much to learn. Who has time to retire? Forget it. So I have a lot of topics of this kind that I will follow up. So I am interested in the frequencies. I am from the beginning. I'm electronics engineer.
So whilst you were in China, have you taken some courses on like what this Chinese physicians are doing? You just touch the nerves, and you'll be able to, from the heartbeat or from the throbs of the blood going through the veins, you will be able to tell what kind of sickness the person's having, and then you prescribe the medication, the herbs medication.
Oh yes, yes. My master, one of my masters, a Chinese lady, she lives here in Sweden, in Stockholm. I mean, I was following her for a number of years. You know, pulse diagnosis has a very, very many levels. Now, most basic qualities of a pulse, it would be like, is it regular? Yes, it is. Good. Is it very superficial? I mean, do you just, you know, touch a little bit and you will feel the beat of the heart? Or, you know, do you have to press, or do you even have to go real deep? That's second quality. And then, is it quick? No, it isn't. Is it slow? No, it isn't. It's normal. Fine. So there are a number of these parameters. and I mean, they give me information. I don't even need to ask questions. I mean, if I just touch the pulse of a person, I will understand some things. But you know, there are like 28 qualities. I mean, some Chinese masters, they master 28 qualities of pulses.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I'm Chinese, so when we are growing up as kids,